Welcome back, podcast patrons, to another episode of Leave the Pin podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dan. Today's episode, as always, sponsored by Agape Golf. Get out there and get yourself a great five-piece ball for the price of a bargain bin ball. These things have been great for me all winter long. Use them in tournaments, use them every single day. So go check out Agape Golf. Today, we've got Trey Wren from Sticks Golf Research. Somebody that is, in my opinion, really kind of breaking through the mold of your typical YouTube creator. Trey, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Thanks for having me, Dan.
Yeah, of course, man. Look, let's get right into it. You are not that old of an individual, right? How old are you?
I'm not. I'm 29, so maybe older than I look, maybe younger than I look. I'm not sure, but I'm
All right.
29, nearly 30.
So 29 years old, and you've got a real classic kind of old school aesthetic to everything you create. My first kind of foray into your filmmaking was the Seagulls film that you did. My younger son, who's a junior golfer, told me about it, and he's big into YouTube golf. He said, Dad, you got to check this out. Like, I really think you're going to enjoy it. And I was like, okay. I'm skeptical on things because everything on YouTube is like, hey, click now and subscribe. Like, watch this great shot. And just really not my style. I watched it. I thought it was poignant. I thought it was phenomenal. And then I started to get into, like, how long this must have taken to record and how did he find out about this? So I guess my first question, I just want to kind of know, like, where do you get your style? Where do you get the aesthetic from?
So I'm totally self-taught with this, and I even still feel like a beginner. And I would say my style and the way our content comes out is definitely inspired by action sports, surf, snowboard. I grew up doing both those sports. I still surf and I snowboard like once a year maybe, but I love surf movies, snowboard movies, and just the way that those sports and industries make their content. It's heavy storytelling, really high imagery level, and I wanted to copy that from day one. When I started Sticks, I had never made a video or owned a camera, so it hasn't always looked like this, but this has definitely been the aesthetic that I love and have been inspired by the most, for sure.
So take me back a little bit. You played collegiate golf, correct?
Yep,
Where'd you play at?
I went to Temple University in Philly. It's a big Division I school, and had an amazing experience. I got a lot better at golf, playing college golf, and I very briefly turned pro and moved down here to South Florida, where I still live. I was pro for like a year and a half, and then quickly got my amateur status back right as I started making videos and films.
Okay, yeah, I know Temple very, very well. We're from Northeast PA.
Nice.
We got a few kids from our conference. I coach. A few kids from our conference play there. A pair of brothers that my boys both know.
Yeah.
So yeah, very familiar with that. That's awesome. So
I was gonna guess that based on the accent. I thought you
oh
might
my
be
god.
a gap. A gap.
Look, man, I can't tell you how hard I've tried to get rid of this. So I'm originally from Long Island.
Okay.
So when you were talking about the surfing, oh my God, dude, there used to be a bus that would go to the beach for us. And for $1, it was a round trip ticket. And we would ride that every day to surf and bodyboard. You talked about like that aesthetic, and I get parts of like Endless Summer and those skate films, right? Kind of, one of the things I always find with your films is the lighting is so phenomenal. And that's the first thing I think that drew me in. It was like that Endless Summer vibe where it was like always golden hour, in every shot. And I get that a lot from you. So what did you study at Temple?
I have a business degree, general business management, nothing to do with filmmaking, arts, storytelling. I've always liked the English or writing side versus the math quantitative side of business. And so I guess that would be the only part of what I've studied that even translates, that I can tell a story and speak pretty well. And that definitely gives me a leg up.
All right. I guess then just walk me through how we go from obviously playing top tier Division I golf, great golfer. I mean, we see that on film all the time. Good enough to have a shot at turning professional. I'm assuming mini tours,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, I played mini tours for a year. I tried to play Corn Ferry Q School, missed it first stage. I was going to try and play in China in 2020, and that clearly didn't happen. And I guess that was another catalyst for me getting into doing all this stuff, was not being able to move across the world to keep playing pro golf. And I was just watching a lot of YouTube golf at that time and didn't really like it. Thought it could be a lot better.
Okay, so that makes perfect sense as to why you're kind of so removed from the rest of the YouTube, whatever you want to call them, filmmakers, creators. I don't really call them filmmakers. What you do, I think, is an art form.
Thank you.
What they do is hitting record and half the time acting like idiots, which unfortunately is influencing a whole generation of golfers out on the course now, to act like that as well. Um, I guess kind of I'm losing the disconnect here on how someone with a business degree
Okay,
goes
yeah.
from that to creating such great short films.
Well, like I said, I'm self-taught doing this. I just bought a camera in the end of 2020 and some editing software and got to it. And I've always leaned on my friends and my golf connections, and that's also advanced me significantly more than my filmmaking skills or my video skills.
Were they involved in filmmaking and video and editing as well, or no?
I'll shout out a couple people that have really helped me. I was so right when I started Sticks, obviously we're not making any money. I was barely making any content, and I was caddying full time at a course called Pine Tree here in South Florida. And a coworker of mine, a kid that was working in the bag room, happened to be in film school. He went to a local arts high school and that was operates like a film studio here in South Florida. And so he had been studying and working on film for 4 years. He was about to graduate, and he was immediately helped me learn how to edit and learn how to shoot. And he was very, very helpful. He was like my first intern. We were both intern level skill wise, but it was, my company, my idea. And so, but he would help me tremendously. His name is Nate Livingston. So Nate helped me a lot. And then I'm actually in his office right now, a guy named Ryan Rodriguez. He's incredibly talented. We work really well together and helped each other improve faster than most. But it's really just been reps. I've made a video or edited a video, not every day, but nearly every day since we started.
Okay, I mean that's the best way to get better, right? By actually doing. So Ryan just released the Fall in New York series, which was great because I knew so many of the areas. But you've got to relay the message to him. Like I don't know if there's something feature length coming, but that just was not enough to quench anybody's thirst whatsoever at like 3.5, 4 minutes. I watched them like, wow, this is phenomenal. The
All right.
cinematography is
No,
unreal. Like the shot with the
I can
eagle in the
tell him.
beginning is
The
incredible.
shot with the eagle is insane.
It's
So you're
nuts.
saying that the fall video in New York was not long enough. You wanted more.
I wanted 10x. Like
Uh,
that needs to be like a 30-minute film
I will
easily.
tell him. I was trying to tell him. No,
So recording and editing every single day, does that mean you've got a backlog of videos and films, or does it mean that it was kind of trial and error and a lot of stuff was left on the cutting room floor?
I mean, there's always a lot left on the cutting room floor, but as far as like my archives, I've got a very wide array of stuff. So from like when I first started, like I had this idea, basically the show Strike Mission that we're making now, that was my first idea. I was like, I want to make a surf film or snowboard film of golf on YouTube, where it's the idea of taking really talented people, athletes and filmmakers on an amazing golf trip that anybody would want to go on. Like, we got to stay at Pinehurst for 4 days, and we went to Landman in Nebraska. We're going to go to Ireland and Europe next year, and it's just a golf trip or a surf trip or a snowboard trip that anyone would want to go on. That's kind of like the structure for what I wanted to make. But at the time, again, had no idea how to even record a video. And so that's kind of been my light at the end of our tunnel. And I've just done, I mean, I've done real estate work. I've done work for golf courses that no one's ever seen. I've done a commercial that was on TV, everything in between, just doing any odd golf creative jobs that I could while still trying to make this series and get my original ideas funded. And that's taken 5 years. So I've done 5 years of freelance work from, like I said, from full length documentaries to making Instagram reels for random golfers and tour players. And I've done a lot of diverse things within the golf creative space to lead to being able to do what we're doing now, which all came from Wilson, who got the Wilson staff hat on. They took a chance on my idea and gave me a year's worth of runway to make Strike Mission. So that's kind of where we're at now. But my archive has a ton of stuff that's never seen the light of day, and plenty that never will, and maybe some stuff that I'll go back and re-edit. But long answer to that question. But yeah, I've done. When I look back at it, it's always even to me, surprising what we've been able to do in the last few years.
Does the influx of Wilson into the picture, does that push Strike Mission forward? Was Strike Mission always going to keep going, or does it now allow you to branch out and say, like, wow, that was my dream course to hit? It was never obtainable because of whatever, travel expenses, distance covered, et cetera, et cetera. Now with Wilson on board, like, we can do that. We can think even bigger.
Totally, and that was basically the biggest barrier between, I've been sitting and thinking about these trips and making films about them for years, and I've got a like a long scroll full of
Sure.
places I want to go, of course, but no, they've given me a budget to make each episode, and that was the only barrier between me and going to do these things. Like I said, I've been very lucky to meet a ton of people in golf just through being a part of the game for 20 years now, and playing golf at a remotely a high level. I wouldn't say a high level, but I'm compared to most a high level.
Compared to most,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
yeah. But it's always how it goes. But yeah, I would say that it's been a really cool journey, and I've got a ton of things that I haven't done yet that I'm just I've got on my calendar.
I'm always so intrigued with how much prep goes into filming golf and obviously filming anything, but the golf world is what I'm super familiar with, right? So I understand, the minutes and sometimes hours it takes to film a 30-second reel. Um I'm super curious, and I don't want you to give away too many industry insider tricks or whatever, but like I guess kind of walk like obviously went down to Pinehurst, right? So I'm super familiar. We go down every Thanksgiving, every summer. Like we're there a ton. Have great friends that work for the resort. It's kind of our second golf home, so I know the place inside and out. Can you walk me through what that week or how many days looked like from kind of travel prep to transporting everything? And like you show some of the behind the scene things in your videos where you're lugging these cameras around
But yeah,
as you're playing
oh
top
yeah.
level golf, which like even for me bringing a tripod out on my rinky dink 9-hole course where there's hardly anyone ever, I always feel like super rushed to set it up, jump into the shot. Hopefully I hit a good shot, run back, get the tripod. Hopefully I don't get in anyone's way and then like try to scurry off to the next shot again.
I mean, that's exactly what we do. It's that's I feel all of those things, and it's really hard to. We managed to play decent and shoot decent, but we always talk about, because both Ryan and I play and shoot the whole time, and it's like, gosh, if we were only playing or only shooting, both of those would be better. But it's there's no other way to do it at this point. We want to be shooting it, and we want to be playing, and that's just kind of where we're at. But so the Pinehurst trip, yeah, it started with Pinehurst inviting us to come do that. So they reached out to me and out of the blue, like, hey, we have seen your videos. Would you like to come do this at Pinehurst? And just it's like a Jordan Belfort, like pause the phone, just throw fist pumps, like, come on, like
Of course.
yelling in my car, like, let's go, that moment. And then from there, we just scheduled it. We were there for 4 days, played 2 rounds, 2 days just shooting all of the. I mean, really, we were just kind of firing from the hip, shooting almost everything we did, trying to figure out what exactly we were going to focus our story on, and then shot the 2 episodes back to back, which was kind of brutal. Next time I'm gonna do the B-roll days in between lugging cameras and walking. It was the middle of the summer too, so it was really hot, but no, it was great. We do it incredibly lean. We don't have a production crew. We are the production crew, and I'm the host, and we all play golf on camera, and it definitely is a run and gun production, and really small scale for the product we put out. But we're doing it all ourselves and just kind of figuring it out on the fly. And we're just getting into like a formula of like, all right, how do we make one of these Strike Mission episodes? We're coming into, we started what's I would say is the series in Charleston earlier this year. We shot Charleston Muni, Country Club of Charleston, Pinehurst 10, Pinehurst 2, my home club of High Point, which we can talk about. We did High Point. Kingsley episode comes out tomorrow. So we went to Kingsley last year, and I came back and we did a bigger, better, more thorough episode. And then I went to Sand Valley. They again reached out to me, invited me to come to Sand Valley. So I did an episode at Sedge Valley, and then we went to Landman in Nebraska for a special event and had basically the whole course to ourselves, with a really cool group from gimme golf club. But so that's what we shot so far, and then I'm doing a few more this winter, and then rolling into a full schedule of production this summer. This is really all I'm focusing on at the moment. That's what Wilson and now B Dratty Zero Restriction have jumped on to sponsor as well, and so I got some dollars to put toward golf trips, and with a lean crew, all of us doing a lot of different things on the production, we can make it stretch, and we're gonna do a lot of cool stuff.
So a ton of great golf courses mentioned. Obviously, I've been lucky enough to play a few of those as well. How much time are you getting in between filming, editing, post production,
Uh,
posting, talking
yeah,
about it? Like how much
I
time are you
mean,
getting to actually play yourself outside of what you're
okay,
filming?
I would a lot.
Okay.
I'm very in the summer. I play a lot. I'm very lucky to be a member of a incredible new golf club called High Point in Northern Michigan, and I was involved from the start, doing all the storytelling and content for the club, and now I get to just be a member. We're basically full, and the club's gotten started. We had our first full season this year, so I was up there twice a month, staying at the club in our lodging and playing member events, and so that's kind of my home away from home is maybe Northern Michigan, just with High Point. But I would say I probably played 30 or 40 rounds up there this summer, so that's a lot. And flying from South Florida to the club each time, it's a lot. But and then we played a ton, around the trips. Like when I went to Sand Valley, we played 2 rounds that we didn't film. We're going to go back and do a proper version next year. So long answer is I still play a lot of golf. Not so much this time of year in Florida. I don't belong to a club down here, and it's outrageously expensive. There's one place, the park, where I was able to make a documentary. I play there a lot because I have the local rate. But in the summer, I play a ton. In the winter, I just work and edit. I surf when I can.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I want to jump back to Pinehurst. I want to kind of get your thoughts on. Everyone's talked about number two. I mean, that can be talked about ad nauseum, and everyone's filmed it and stuff. Number 10 is easily into my top 10 courses of all time. The boys and I have had an opportunity to play it 3 or 4 times now, in all different conditions and all different times of the year. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. And I kind of want to get your opinion on that as someone that's looking at it from a top tier level player, and then someone also that's looking at it through the lens of a camera.
Sure. Yeah, I love number 10. I think it's so different than anything else at Pinehurst, right? It stands on its own, and paired with number 11, I've been able to walk that site. It's really cool. That whole Sand Mines campus, we'll call it, is going to be special. I think it's going to be firmly second, third best course at Pinehurst, and even for most people or a lot of people, it might be their favorite. Doak is so good. He builds courses that test me and stay enjoyable and stay fun for people of all levels. It's really what he does best, I think. The land is amazing. It feels so different than how old and maybe proper or like the main clubhouse area. It just has like an aura to it. You know what I mean? Just you feel
Mm-hmm.
like you're somewhere historic. And then number 10 feels like a whole new place, which obviously it's brand new, but they really did a good job of making it feel different. And the land's big, golf course is tons of fun, conditions are awesome. I love it, and I can't wait to see what Bill and Ben do with number 11.
Yeah, I love the juxtaposition between kind of the old school country club feel of
Yeah,
2 and 4 and 1, 3, and 5, everything that emanates from the clubhouse. And then when you drive out Midland and you head down that way, it's almost like you're heading to a completely different
totally.
part of the country.
Yeah,
But you're still in the Sandhills. Yeah, for my money, like now I'm a sucker. Like number 4 is hands down my favorite Pinehurst course. Like there's great memories, but I love the architecture there. And one of the things I'm starting to notice from all the courses that you go to and the course that you film is there's a lot of that minimalist architecture. It's not, and you've done some stuff at like the old school kind of, let's call them Northeast courses, right? Like your prototypical country club. Is that something that you are kind of gravitating towards always? That the core Crenshaw, the Doak, the real kind of, let's call it more natural aesthetic in the
sure.
golf course.
Yeah, we've definitely been to more new places than old, I think. I'm just drawn to what I courses that I think are fun and places I love to play. It also just depends on where I get access to. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. There's a lot of places we could have gone by now that I'm just like, well, I guess I'll just wait until they ask us to come out there and want to comp it for us. But yeah, I love both. I going to college in Philadelphia, I got to play some of the greatest courses in the country and very traditional, classic places. And like I absolutely love Marion and I love Pinehurst number 10, and they couldn't be more different. There's great golf found everywhere. A lot of it's sort of regional and cultural and based on obviously it's all based on the land where the course is. I wouldn't say we're drawn to one or the other. Like I love all kinds of golf, and we've done everything from, some of the most private courses in the country to places that are $50 that you've never heard of that are really cool. I don't know. But I do love the new stuff that's being built, and there's a lot of really exciting stuff coming out of the ground, and I want to see all that too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of golf post 2015 than I was golf 1990 to
For sure.
2005 when they were
You
just
mean like
pump.
courses that were built during that time?
Yeah, because back in like the 90s, everything was just based upon how many houses
Yeah.
can we fit. They were bland, they were unoriginal.
Yep.
And it
Insert
was
X golfer you've heard of's name, design.
yeah, and we've got a perfect example here. We have a Jack Nicklaus signature course. It's where we play like our conference championship at. I mean, quite honestly, the course sucks.
Yeah.
But it was built during the housing boom, and they could plop down $700,000-800,000 houses that are now worth half of that. And you've got a course that's basically almost inaccessible to walk in. You have to take a cart. And one of my big things in golf is I love to walk. So many
Me
people
too.
say, well, golf isn't exercise. It could be. It probably should be for most
It
people.
always was before the golf cart was invented.
Right? And so what we're getting now with the Bandons and Cabots and everything, and like Mammoth Dune and all those courses, these big wide corridors that kind of leave your jaw agape after you finish 18 holes, but you can remember every single hole and every single shot. And I think that's super important nowadays.
Absolutely. I mean, I much prefer golf that's built for that reason versus with houses all around it, and that's you know no argument there. All those places are fantastic, and I'm glad to see it turning and it's almost like golf architecture is now just more commonly known by golfers. There's a lot of people that obviously still don't care about it and don't know about it and never will, but I think more people than ever are talking about it and interested in it, and that's where you can clearly see it by the demand for the type of golf courses that are getting built and all the demand for it.
Yeah, I always wondered if that was like a niche thing because I was so deep into the golf world that,
I don't know any other way, so I might be
yeah.
we might just be two fish in a very small pond. We don't think we're in the ocean, but I really do think it's being talked about more, and people are being exposed to it with all those resorts that you mentioned. It's not just because that was always available for a lot of there's private clubs that have had that sort of look and feel for a long time, but being more widely accessible has been really, really cool.
You talked about how trial and error kind of really played a role in your growth in this industry. Do you have any stories of that? And I'm just thinking along the lines of like, have drones been destroyed? I'm kind of thinking about things that have gone through in my growth of, doing the podcast and how many episodes
Yeah.
I forgot to hit record on and had to call people back. I'm like, dude, you think we can do this again? They're like, why? It turned out great. I'm like, yeah, I know, but
Yeah, exactly. You make something up. No, I've made every mistake in the book. I've lost SD cards after shooting stuff. I've not hit record on an interview and just, well, that's not in the movie now. Tell them they did a great job. And it's there's always going to be stuff like that along the way. I would say recently, I had a full circle moment. I'm currently without a drone. I crashed it the last time I flew it. I haven't crashed. I've crashed now 4 drones in 5 years, or 3 drones in 5 years. So it's not terrible. But I just my last trip to High Point in October, I was there for the Renaissance Cup, which is Tom Doak's. He basically invites 60, 70 people to come play matches around his newest course. And it's a it's a really cool event and one of the most eclectic gatherings in golf. And so I was there to play at my home club at High Point, and I hadn't crashed a drone since my first day ever at High Point. I was there the first time our owner walked it with Tom Doak, and they're walking down the 12th hole. And I'm doing this pan, and I crash it into a tree right in front of them. And just after like drive to Best Buy, buy a new drone, drive back to the course. Just terrible. One of my first big breaks in the industry, and I crashed my drone, and ended up not being a big deal. But the drone I bought that day, I had still been using until my last trip to High Point. It was the last day of our first season, and I'm now a member. I'm there playing an event, and Tom Doak is again walking down the 12th hole. And I'm doing the same movement, and I hit the same tree. My drone, I was probably going to replace it this winter anyway. It had been acting up. It had been giving me like, it had been crying wolf with like the motion. Like I'd be flying down the middle of a fairway, and it'd be like beeping at me that there was a tree, and so
Right.
I thought it was crying wolf, and there was totally a tree. But I hit the same tree that I hit my first day at High Point, and then again like a month ago.
I'm sensing this might be a Tom Doak issue.
Could be, could be. He was in the same, almost the same place both times, and I hadn't filmed him with my drone since. So yeah, I don't know.
You,
He
you
just
talk you talk about High
waved his
Point. There's
hand, knocked it out of the sky.
it's hilarious because it happens to everybody. You
Yeah,
know.
totally. You're gonna have to do it.
You talk about High Point, and there's obviously a ton of affection towards that place. Kind of walk me through how that came to be such a pivotal point in your life, such a big aspect of your life, like hooking up with Rod Trump. Like
Yeah.
how did all that occur?
No, it changed my life entirely. Not just from the work I was able to do, but just being a part of this club and being there from the start. I mean, it's an invaluable experience. I'll cherish this place for the rest of my life. I got to see it come to life. I already knew Rod before he started High Point. He was the president of the club I was caddying at, and we had met before I started working there when I was playing. He invited me out to play and with a college teammate of mine. And so I'd played golf with him several times, and I caddied for him for 2 years, leading into him wanting to buy a golf club. He had just run Pine Tree for 2 years as the club president and done a lot of great things, and wanted to do something for his legacy. And basically, his dream was to buy a golf club. And he tried to buy Kingsley, which is my episode's coming out tomorrow. He tried to buy Kingsley, it didn't work out. He heard about High Point, and so at this point, I had just been hired to make a documentary about the park in West Palm where he was a donor. And so he asked me just to come with him the first time he ever went up to see High Point. He was going to buy the land, and he was meeting Tom Doak to walk it for the first time, and just asked me to come along with a camera. And from there, I worked on the project full time for almost 2 years. It was for a long time just he and I in his kitchen in Florida. We stayed in the house together for the whole summer when we were building the golf course, and we became really really close. And he's a mentor and a dear friend now, and I get to be a member of his incredible golf club that he built. So and we also had a ton of success with our story, and it let me learn how to market a golf club and learn how to tell stories. And it just gave me an incredible canvas to have at my disposal. And I'm really still the only person who's taking photos there. And I've got terabytes and terabytes of archives of everything that's happened since that first day. And it's just been like unbelievable to have that as something I'll just have a part of the rest of my life.
Yeah, I love stories of just pieces of thread like that form a knot, and one thing goes a different way, and this never happens.
Totally.
But it went the right way, and it's led to this, and you've taken advantage. Like you kind of grabbed the bull by the horns and ran with it. And that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I was just there and really enthusiastic to help. And I mean, Rob would laugh if he heard this, but I had no idea what I was doing with 90% of the stuff he was throwing my way, and I was just like, yeah, I'm sure I can handle this. And I botched a lot of it, but some of it I didn't. We've now got a bond that we'll be friends for life because we went through these years together. Because it's, I mean, unbelievable how hard he worked to bring this to life, and people just don't understand what it takes to bring a golf course, or especially a golf club, out of the ground. We've created an unbelievable group of people and an incredible golf course, and it really is special.
Yeah, people think that it just takes money, right? You can just throw money at a problem and everything will be okay. But you really need a good collective of people with the same vision and people to buy into things in order to actually have it grow and prosper.
Totally. Yeah, and his vision's been ironclad since the start, and it's created a community of really inspired people that want to see it succeed, and it's been really inspiring, at least for me to watch.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. Once this episode drops, your latest video will have been out about a week or so. People will be able to digest it. Hopefully, listen to this. They go back, they look it up. So the newest vid went back to Kingsley
Yep.
Club again. What inspired you to go there the first time?
It's just access. I was living in northern Michigan all of last year, so summer of 24, as we opened for the first time for preview play. I lived up there the whole summer from May through November, and it's just nearby. So like last year, I wanted to try and make a pilot version of Strike Mission, and so we shot 3 or 4 of them. But I shot one at Kingsley, Belvedere, which is up there, and amazing, Champion Hill, and we did a couple more. But they let me do it, and so that was one of the main factors. But it's also it was it's the third ranked course in Michigan. It was a top 100 course. It may have fallen out after this year, but it's really really great and worth sharing. And I had a relationship with a lot of members. We have a lot of crossover with High Point members, and they asked the head pro, and he said yes. And so Jim Raymond is the pro there, and he's really awesome and has been super open to us coming back and doing whatever we want, which is that's been like one of the coolest things is like the doors that have opened doing stuff the way we do it. And we try and be like we're golfers and we are members of great clubs, and we know how to be respectful and how to not, we just know the way we want to tell stories, and it's not kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. So we do things in a tasteful way, and all the doors, the word spread, and the doors have opened. It's been really cool.
So you went there the first time kind of as a young buck. You're kind of
Sure.
back now as a grizzled vet, if you will,
Yeah, I guess I
right, of
haven't really.
filmmaking.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little better. We just have better cameras, and we got to fly our drones this time, and I've made a few of them in between. If you watch them back to back, you will see a ridiculous difference. But I don't feel that too much different. I just
Gotcha.
I've been doing it, just getting incrementally better. Every time we make something.
Can you expand on any of the places that you're going to be upcoming in 2026? Or are
Totally.
those kind of close to
Yeah,
the vest?
absolutely. No,
Okay.
I'm happy to talk about it. So we're doing one in February. We're going to the Bahamas, the Abaco Club. That's I won't give too much away, but that'll be a very adventurous episode. We're getting there in a very non-standard way. It'll be unlike anything we've ever made. So that'll be cool. And then I'm definitely going to England and Ireland in July, August of next year, and got some friends through Tom Doak and that whole world, the Casey brothers who own Rosa Penna and St. Patrick's Links. So we're going to go and stay there. They own the oldest golf resort in the world, and their family's owned it for a long time. And so we're going to go stay there for a few days. And Eric Anders Lang's made some amazing stuff with them, and we're going to hopefully do it a little different and play a lot of courses around there. And I'm going to the International in Boston, which is a new Core Crenshaw property, 36 holes outside of Boston. We'll do something on Cape Cod. I know sort of what regions we're going to. Exact courses are still up in the air, but we've got a long list of places we want to go. Definitely going back to Sand Valley. Definitely going back to Pinehurst this coming year. What else? I need to do more stuff on the West Coast. It's all. I schedule these a couple months in advance, except for like Ireland is on the books, but I haven't nailed down exactly where we're going to be when. But I've got a sort of a general slate of where we're going to go.
Gotcha. That's, I mean, obviously some phenomenal trips coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
How much of your trip is planned by the book, and how much do you kind of leave up to golf magic? Of kind of,
Yeah,
maybe I'll meet somebody along the way and they'll say, hey, come play here or come play there. Do you leave space open, or are you kind of really agenda driven?
I would say the first few we've been pretty agenda driven, but it really depends on how much we know about where we're going. If it's somewhere I've never been, it's kind of hard to do that. Usually try and have a local guide, or and this is something we're trying to do more of, is incorporate as many people and characters and places within where we go as possible. There's a really incredible series on YouTube called Dirt. It's a chef who goes around, he'll go to Maine and he drives all around the state gathering ingredients, meeting all these interesting people in authentic places, and everything they gather, they come back and make a feast at the end. And that's a huge inspiration for our travel show. They do an incredible job of, like, you feel like you've been where they go, and that's what we want to do as much of as possible. And so we're going to do probably more of that in the upcoming stuff. But yeah, that's just it is agenda driven, because that kind of stuff you have to set up. But like, we've gotten very lucky in Charleston. We didn't reach out to Troy Miller, the architect of Charleston Muni, until we were already there, and he happened to be there and live next to the course. So like, we got really lucky with that. But I would say it's a little bit of both. If I've never been somewhere, we just kind of go and explore and take it in real time. And like, Ryan and I work really well together. We can meet somebody and just look at each other and be like, yeah, we're gonna have to interview this guy later, because we need him to say that again on camera. So it's a little bit of, you don't know what's gonna happen, and that's what's really fun about what we do. It's not like I would say we control it more than most, but we also still leave it up to, you just never really know what's gonna happen. You can do all the pre-production you want, but until you're actually out there, it's all just guesswork.
Yeah, and sometimes meeting people and speaking to them and people that have local knowledge kind of can steer you in a completely different direction than you already thought you were going to go.
Totally. And that's something like for future episodes, like if we go to, like, I'll make an episode about Pinehurst where instead of having it be 2 40-minute episodes about each one golf course, we might go to 4 or 5 courses in 3 days and make 1 half hour about that and cover more ground and go into less detail in each place.
Talk to me about Charleston Muni real quick, because
Sure.
there's always kind of, there's a lot of love-hate that goes into that course. A lot of the old timers hate the way that it is now. Tee sheets packed, pins are too hard, greens are too difficult. A lot of the new people absolutely love it. It was a boon for that area. It's an area of the country that I'm super familiar with as well. That course. I kind of, I love the place. I think it's phenomenal. I love the architecture, how it harkens back to golden age, 1900s, 1890s architecture in the U.S. There's some phenomenal views out there. Maybank Highway splitting it is always scary as hell for me on some of those tee shots. Like, I just,
Totally.
I'm a decent golfer, but there's times I'm like, God damn, I hope I don't hit a car.
Yeah, it's a very known boundary. But no, Charleston Muni is amazing. If you don't like how it is now, I really can't take your opinion seriously on golf courses. But I like anything old, it's the South. I mean, anything that you change, people are gonna moan about.
This is true.
But they, like, the 13th hole used to not be able to see the water, and that's one of the coolest holes I've ever played. And so even just taking that corner alone, where it has the Cape hole 13 is that amazing road hole green on the water. You look at the bridge. I mean, it's just unbelievable visuals.
The best part of the property.
If they only changed that, it would have been amazing. But the fact that they tied the rest of the course into it is, it's incredible. And again, anytime you change a course or you do something that was such a staple, I'm sure people, liked having it to themselves and liked when the greens were worse and conditions were worse. They're making $1 million for the city now versus losing $500,000. I don't know what the exact math is, but Troy says it in our film.
Yeah, they were losing a lot.
Now they're making money, and yeah. It's an asset, and it's great. And if it's busier, great. It's a municipal golf course. I'm sure it was really busy before. It's significantally better. I never even saw it before, but just having studied it and
night and day. I mean, literally, it's not even the same course. Yeah. It is bones and all, but in terms of people playing, in terms of, I think the biggest thing out there, which people neglect, and I know old timers hate, is their youth on course and how many youth days they have and camps. And, there's days, and I've got 2 boys that one plays collegiately now, one's that, is going to play collegiately. I love seeing kids out walking. Like, it's my favorite thing. And to see 8, 9, 10-year-old kids out walking Charleston Muni, not even understanding how good they have it.
Totally.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and kids are play there for free, I think. It's unbelievable. It really is cool. And Troy mentions that in our film. It's like his biggest goal is to, I mean, yeah, the course is hard, but maybe that's going to make kids get better. And if there's kids that grow up there and go on to play golf at a high level, or go on to be PGA professionals, or go on to use golf to advance their lives, that's a win for that place. I couldn't agree more.
So I want to get you out of here on this. I'm a big music fan. It really kind of runs my life to a certain extent. You have such an eclectic taste in music. It shines in all your videos. What are you into now? What are you listening to now? What's on heavy rotation?
Right now, I'm listening a lot. It's just like not a hot take. Tame Impala has a new album. Kevin Parker, one of my favorite musicians for years. He's incredibly good. His new album I've been listening to a lot. It's in my latest videos. Which, by the way, I'm gonna. I don't know if our days are numbered using really good music, but if we get to a certain point, because right now I forego. I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure you do. I forego monetization on my films to use copyrighted music.
Sure.
So I'm either going to get a cease and desist from Universal Records or something that'll put that to an end. But for now, we're not really big enough to where anyone's angry at me for using their music. So, well, fingers crossed that lasts as long as possible. But I just started listening to Inhaler, who's had an incredible album come out. Not Inhaler, excuse me. Turnstile. And Inhaler is another one of my favorite bands. Lead singer is Bono's son, Elijah Hewson. Their Inhaler's incredible, but Turnstile's amazing. They're really they're like about as heavy metal or rock as I can stomach. But
okay. I saw Turnstile on one of either the credits at the end, or you used it in a reel or something like that. I've used them before. Absolutely love them. In terms of newer kind of post-punk bands, one of my favorites. Absolutely. And their stage presence is insane.
Next level. Yeah, they play their shows with no barriers.
Yes.
They're nuts.
Yeah, and it's funny because that harkens back. I grew up in like the New York hardcore scene back in the 90s, and that's how shows were. 200-300 kids, lead singer, guitarist, bassist jumping into the crowd. So that really kind of formed my perception of music and what I like.
Yeah, they're vintage. I'm pulling up. Let me see. I've got what else I've been listening to recently. I use Apple Music, which I'm sure is not popular, but
I use it too. So it's
I prefer the aesthetic to Spotify. I don't know why.
100%.
I just like the layout better.
Spotify seems cheap to me. Not that I hate commercials. I can't stand. I want it my way. And Apple Music on the new. I tell you what's funny on the new download to it, the new upload. When you refreshed it, there's a mix that you can now. Apple Music itself will mix a song into the next one. And so I'm a teacher. So I'm in the weight room every day, and my kids are like, "Did you like DJ mix this yourself?" I'm like, "Yes, I did. Spent all those hours doing it for you, kids."
That's fantastic. I love that. No, I think it is better. I've listened to Sundara Karma, Young the Giant, love Sam Fender, Daisy Jane, Bad Sons, Inhaler, Turnstile, like I said, Kings of Leon, classic. I just like indie alternative music.
I was gonna say very indie heavy there.
Yeah, it's just what I've always listened to, and it just comes straight off my phone. Just whatever. I just hit shuffle, think about my videos, and while I'm driving, and that's perfect for this part of the Kings League.
Sure, yeah, that scene or whatnot.
Yeah, I just make a list and just whatever I'm feeling like the day we make it. That's with a lot of
nice. Yeah, I'm gonna look up that Inhaler. Bono's one of my favorite people in the world. U2's one of my top 3 favorite bands of all time. So
you're gonna love Inhaler. His kid can absolutely belt. It runs in the family.
Nice. I like that. Trey, first off, thank you so much for coming on. Again, not to fanboy, but your videos are ones that I will always stop what I'm doing and make sure that I can watch them when they release. Let everyone know where they can find you on socials and YouTube, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Sticks Golf Research, just at Sticks Golf on Instagram, and same on YouTube. That's really the only places I post anything. And yeah, I've got a bunch of great stuff coming out for the next at least 12 months.
Awesome. And the Kingsley episode, like I said, when
Yep.
this podcast drops, that'll be out for a week already. So go check that out and everything else he's got.
Awesome. Appreciate
All
it,
right.
Dan.
People either get busy golfing or get busy dying.